Welcome back, folks. We are here for yet another top 16 match at the side stream, of course, at the 2025 Pokemon World Championships of Anaheim. And I am Costa, as always, joined by the ever so lovely Mr. Simon van der Voort, aka Schmon. And yeah, I mean, it's been absolutely fun. We've been having such a great time, as you can see. And honestly, we have had such fire matches, back to back. Japanese top class styled, world class, should I say, matches from all of these well-known trainers. But we got yet another one in store for you that is coming up. It is going to be yet another top 16 match, like we mentioned, and it's going to be between Hirofumi Kimura versus Aaron Brok.
Yeah, an interesting match to see as well. Another top 16 match. Let's take a look at the teams. We do have Aaron Brok rocking with the Calyrex, Shadow Rider, and the Zamazenta team. Something that we have seen a few times and proven to be quite useful. This time around, Assault Vest Chimpao back at it again with the Ice Spin, Ruination, Sucker Punch, and Ice Shard, which I am absolutely loving this set right now. And two redirectors there as well, within the Ogre Pond and the Amoonguss there. So very good support Pokemon here all around this Calyrex.
Oh, 100%. It's such a fascinating set as well. I know that Jamie Boy popularized the Chien Power Assault Vest. I'm sure it was a Terra Electric back then, a couple of regulation set formats ago, but really proving its worth and guaranteeing different methods of with the combinations that you can pair up with them, with the Zamazenta. You can easily go through Pokemon such as like a Lunala, for example, with the Shadow Shield, and just bring it down to 50% of its HP, and then follow up with the Behemoth Bash, or even an Ivy Cudgel, and that could absolutely ruin the Lunala's dreams as well as flowcharts. But then over on Hirofumi's side, we've got yet another Koraidon, folks, paired up with the Calyrex, Ice Rider, Incineroar, Smeargle, Landorus, and Rillaboom. A core 6 that we have definitely seen from Hirofumi as well this weekend, but also from quite a few other Japanese as well as Australian players as well.
Yep, and I'm absolutely here for it. Koraidon proving to be useful once again. This time around, we've seen collision course, we've seen close combat, and now low kick is the choice. We have been talking a lot about low kick already, proving how useful it is. And we have talked a lot about this Smeargle being the new option that you have against other more standard Smeargles with Fake Out, where you are opposed to that having Spiky Shield, where you are able to make sure that your opponent will hurt itself, breaking sashes on any opposing Smeargles, in fact, like that, while you have two other Fake Outers being able to support your team as much as possible. The Calyrex, Terra Fairy, Leech Seed, Glacial Lance, powerful all around, together with an option with this Koraidon as well.
Yeah, exactly. There's just a lot going for it, especially because you're like, okay, well, you've got two fake out users on Hirofumi's team. Why not have a third fake out user? And clearly there's some sort of flowchart that these trainers have identified when it comes to having Spiky Shield rather than a fake out available to be able to sort of force certain pins and scenarios of breaking either their own fake out, focus sashes, or even in certain cases, whittle it down to the point where you can put it within range of, let's say, the example, a low kick from a Koraidon that could pick up a surprise KO on certain Pokemon. So there's a lot going for it. But like we've said, it's just going to have to come down to both of these trainers and how they best adapt going into this matchup in particular. They've been playing all weekend. From yesterday, they had 8 grueling Swiss rounds. They had another 2 today. They had, of course, led us to this point where they are in the top 16. And Hirofumi Kimura, no stranger to the World's Experience 2019 finalist. And he's clearly out for more and even more hungry.
Yeah, exactly. It's as you said, but let's not dismiss Aaron Brok either, because in 2023, Yokohama got top 32 there. Certainly not too shabby to say at the very least. And in Portland, got top 4 just as well, just this year as well. So proving that these players, like all the players that we have been featuring, have gotten so many accolades. It's honestly impressive after a while, where you're just like, oh, you have another title. Oh, cool. You have another achievement. Oh, that's great. Oh, you have another one. They keep on going up and up. The stocks are not stopping, and this is honestly. If you are Aaron, you kind of want to defy not really the Japanese buff that's going on here right now, because let's be honest, we've seen a lot of Japanese players still in top cut contention. We've seen a lot of Americans just as well. So this it might be a deciding factor who will push on through to get this World Championship title. Honestly, we have two horses on the field. We have two fighting types being the restricted pair as well, and then we have, well, Smurgle being able to provide as much support as possible, because Ruination, Spore, and Spike Shield is such a cool combination of moves to have, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. And I think it sort of allows you so much more room when it comes to being able to navigate the different matchups in the current meta by being able to have as many options as possible. You know, having one redirection user is great, but if you've got a second one that's also immune to powder-like moves or grass types and whatnot, then that's fantastic, especially when you could go on the offensive. And Ogerpon Cornerstone is one that we haven't seen as often in recent times within this regulation, but I'm very happy to actually see it start making a comeback. Aaron doing an incredible job with it. He has utilized Ogerpons in the past. He's gotten top 4s with them as well over across the pond in the NA region with some of the major event regionals there. So yeah, really huge accomplishment for himself to be able to break that top 32 ceiling of Worlds attendance for himself, going into the top 16, and clearly looking for more going into top 8, just one set away.
You don't want to stop here, right? Aaron is definitely hungry for more. Like, okay, I got top 32. I'm not ending it here at top 16. I'm going for more. I'm going for that valuable title, of course, as well. And I do love that you mentioned the Ogerpon, because in early meta we saw Ogerpon Rock being used a lot because it has access to that sturdy ability and the follow me, being able to make sure that you are able to at least tank 2 hits in that regard. We have seen like Smurgle doing kind of the same with its focus sash and stuff, but then again also with things like, for example, fake out, making sure that it is able to give another turn of support in that regard. But Aaron, seeing the option that is the Ogerpon Rock, because Rock type hits very hard, and at times there's not a lot of things you can really switch into that either.
It's true. It's such a great offensive typing. There's so many flying types to be found. There's a lot of fire types generally, especially those pesky Terra Fires that we've seen. We've seen Koraidon at this point. It's just glued to Terra Fire. It kind of has to, with the ability it comes with and the modes that it allows for its partner Pokemon to go through. But I'm going to be completely frank with you. This is going to be a close one between both of our trainers. The matchups are going to be fascinating, as we're going to be going straight into game 1. Let's make some noise. We're going to be seeing things from Aaron Brok's perspective versus Hirofumi. We have got the Chi and Power Zamazenta combination against the double restricted over on Hirofumi's side, Calyrex Ice Rider and Koraidon, already putting a good amount of pressure from either side. But in particular, when it comes to the speeds, you would assume that the Chi and Power at least would be the fastest thing right now.
Yeah, Chimpao being one of those very fast Pokemon that could potentially speed tie with the Koraidon itself, but that is, of course, another thing that you have to think about what the possibilities here are in that regard. Zamazenta itself is kind of fearful of a strong low kick coming out from its Koraidon. Definitely, when your own Chimpao is on the field, being able to lower the defense stat of all the Pokemon on the field. So all 4 attackers here on the field do feel kind of threatening.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Especially with the Zamazenta sort of being the best Pokemon to be able to counter that scenario because of his Dauntless Shield, providing himself that +1 in defense. But It's going for the terrestrialization, opting for the dragon typing, which is a good run back to what it previously had been doing. We've seen it recent times, switching over to water type Terra, but not being the case. Ruination, targeting the Calyrex, no protects from Hirofumi's side. Flame charge going into the Chien-Pao, not even enough to pick up the KO, because guess what? This Chien-Pao is built for bolt. Behemoth Bash going into the Calyrex, picks up the KO, wombo combo, no need to even try to terrestrialize, as the Calyrex was locked into a pin in that case. It had Fairy Terra as an option, and that is, as we know, no option against a Behemoth Bash.
Yeah, Behemoth Bash, a very good choice. Definitely against a Pokemon that is as heavy as Calyrex. You might be missing on some base power against some Pokemon, but the consistency of Behemoth Bash proving itself useful. Chien-Pao surviving the flame charge. It was not my bingo card either, but we do know that Sword of Ruin does not affect Chien-Pao itself, of course, as the Koraidon did get the speed boost, does get a boost from the sun, but is not a fire type in itself as of yet. So if it goes for the Terra, I'm pretty sure it would have gotten that knockout. But now you have this Zamazenta that you have to deal with its Terra Dragon, and you just lost your strongest ice type.
Yeah, and that will prove to be quite crucial, you would think, if it weren't, of course, for the Terra Fire option. Koraidon clearly wanting to forego any of those ice-type weaknesses. Maybe trying to capitalize off of a cheeky no follow me here, just going for the raw Spore or even Spiky Shield in anticipation, as we do see the Zamazenta followed suit by, of course, the Smeagol going on the defensive, but this allows so much more room for the Koraidon, especially because it hasn't even taken any sort of damage, given the Ice Shard was targeting the Smeagol there, but it has targeted that Chien-Pao. Did not fall for the defensive trick of the Protect on the Zama. Now at +2 of its speed, it is definitely not ever going to get outsped. Probably not even by this moody boosted Smeagol, even if it did go for speed. But actually, +2 in attack and drop in its speed instead.
Drop in speed is probably not what Hirofumi would have loved to see. Having a speed boost would have been very good, because you are threatening that, of course, that Spore in that regard. But now, Ogerpon on the field, meaning it is able to redirect any sort of move, while the Zamazenta is able to dish out still valuable damage. So earlier I mentioned Calyrex next to 2 redirectors is really good, but guess what? Right now, this Ogerpon next to Zamazenta proving to be really good as well, being able to redirect any sort of moves and being able to body press left and right.
Yeah, exactly, and such a good way to be able to allow Zamazenta a bit more room and even add more to the defensive side, given that there's no speed boost from that Smeagol. It means you don't have to go for the follow me from your Ogerpon. You just go for the double focus there and finally get rid of that slot, leaving Hirofumi down to his final 2, as we do have Flame Charge targeting the Ogerpon, not even going for the Flare Blitz, clearly identifying they do not want to get any sort of recoil damage dealt onto that slot, focusing more so on breaking at least the sturdy, and that's the most guaranteed thing. Given the fact that Ivy Cudgel follows up after the body press, of course it gets rid of that Smeagol. Like we said, Shmon, now leaves Hirofumi in a bit of a pickle, given the fact that they've only got their final 2 Pokemon remaining. This Koraidon is the fastest thing on the field, no doubt about it, and probably for the rest of the game. But the Landorus is the final choice of Pokemon.
Yeah, this is going to be some fine choices that have to be made by Hirofumi, deciding who to target, because there is a little bit of a mind game going on. Ogerpon is able to follow me. It is just as well being able to just go for a Spiky Shield, giving some chip damage onto the Koraidon in that regard, as the Zamazenta is able to dish out damage with the Heavy Slam or even with a Body Press onto the Koraidon. Koraidon is the key piece right now that Hirofumi needs desperately to be able to, definitely with what we saw in the back that Aaron has, which is that Calyrex there, which is still having its focus as actually, so the options are dwindling from Hirofumi's side, but seeing that the Calyrex, that the Koraidon is the important piece, going for that Protect, the Ogerpon is just going for that Follow Me.
Yeah, Behemoth Bash will be targeting down the Landorus, not even dealing a 2-shot from this range, which is definitely not what Aaron would like to see, but most importantly, the Ogerpon has finally been felled. Now we're in a scenario where the battlefield has been equalized. You got a 2 versus 2, good old-fashioned slugger match of a match between both of these sides of the field. But the Calyrex, it still has its Focus Sash intact, which means it's not going to fall susceptible to a Flare Blitz Oko, essentially, from this Koraidon, which could be key.
Yeah, there's not really a lot of options that I can see that can save Hirofumi here, because of course Terra Dragon Zamazenta proving to be quite strong right now, as it is able to resist anything that Koraidon is able to throw out. Low kick will still deal respectable damage as long as the sun is up, but with that defense boost that the Zamazenta has gotten, with its with the neutral nature of what low kick becomes, it's not gonna hit all that hard. So Hirofumi is struggling to even get a KO on either of these targets, I feel. So this deciding turn will make up for it, maybe with a Protect coming out from the Calyrex.
Oh, it might, and it's just going to have to come down to Hirofumi's targeting, I would say. But the double Protect from Aaron's both Pokemon, followed by the Landorus in suit, clearly shows the intentions of both of our trainers. But the Flare Blitz, of course, will be targeting that Calyrex, clearly wanting to go for the maximum damage output that you can. Maybe, hopefully, you could try to connect with the Sandsear Storm, but at this point, I just feel like there's just not as much gas left in the tank for Hirofumi to be able to capitalize off of the diminishing resource availability from their side.
Yeah, no sun, no good time right now. As it's not really the rain, but it's the chilling rain of this Calyrex trying to come out with a strong Acid Barrage, being able to potentially pick up the KO together with a body press from the Zamazenta. So I think Hirofumi just wants to collect as much information as possible right now. A double Protect from the Landorus, trying to keep it safe just at the very least. So we have the Flare Blitz coming out from the Koraidon. Now, you could potentially get a burn here because it is a secondary effect, but not even without the sun, it's not even going to put this Calyrex onto its Focus Sash, as the Acid Barrage from the Calyrex is coming out, making sure that this Koraidon will definitely be in range of a following attack here by either the Zamazenta or even the Calyrex in the following turn.
Yeah, and the Body Press actually trying to target down the Landorus just to make sure you can guarantee the KO onto it for whatever reason, if Astral Barrage is not able to.
Yeah, now that we're in this position, the Calyrex is still the slower target, is able to protect again, but the Koraidon is able to now KO the Calyrex, as it is able to dish out damage to the Zamazenta, as where the Landorus is able to just go for another power. So suddenly the game is still not completely over. The Koraidon is the one opting to protect here, just trying to make sure that at least stays alive. And it is Acid Barrage from the Calyrex. Let's take a look if this Landorus is able to tank it, because it took that Behemoth Bash quite comfortably. And with that is just a KO onto that Landorus.
Yeah, even though it did start getting a bit more interesting towards the end there, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, this Koraidon's just not going to be able to get any sort of comeback story going for it, at least in this game one. The Zamazenta, let's just have a chat about that, Shmon, real quick. It had not taken damage before this low kick. That only just came out right now. That is clearly a bit of an indication of what Hirofumi really needs to try to target down and start getting rid of, because clearly it's such an important piece to Aaron's strategy. That's why he went for the terrestrialization from the get-go, straight away, not messing about. He wants to make sure, even if there's a case he has to switch it out, it could be brought back in as a dragon type.
Yeah, that dragon type proving to dividends, as the only Pokemon really able to hit that was that Calyrex Ice Rider, being able to hit it with a Glacial Lance. But again, if your Calyrex is immediately deleted off the battlefield, it's really hard to try and hit this hit this Zamazenta for super effective damage in that regard. And because of that, the Zamazenta was just able to sit down and do what it wants to do, because despite it being known as a defensive Pokemon, Body Press is a real threat, because it is using its defense stat, making sure that everything on the field will get chipped down, will get a lot of damage onto the field just as well.
Yeah, the best offense is defense, at least when it comes to Zamazenta. That is a definite fact, but we're going to have to go and sort of evaluate how Hirofumi can try to bring this back. Because like you said, the Calyrex, it just went down too quickly in that game one. You want to be able to safeguard it more towards the mid and end game scenario. So we may very well actually see a Trick Room strategy being implemented from Hirofumi's side. You just need to be able to be a bit cautious on Aaron's options because he's just got so many and he keeps on leading with the Chi and Pal. Perhaps a bit of an indication of, I'd even say, a Calyrex and Incineroar lead from the get-go. Maybe even bring in the Rillaboom at some point if you really want to try to get some more mileage going with Fake Out, Disruption, and maybe an end game Koraidon play could be the scenario, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's not that easy to foresee what the adaptation can be for Hirofumi because Aaron can just as well try and adapt to whatever Hirofumi wants to adapt to. In that regard, I do think Trick Room might be a way to go, but that is the amazing part of Zamazenta being able to wide guard, making sure that Glacial Lance is not all doing that much. Leech Seed is a little bit slow in that regard. Certainly when there's a Pokemon that is able to make sure that can just keep clicking these Acid Barrages just as well.
Well, we are finding out, and it is indeed the Incineroar and the Calyrex Ice Rider being led by Hirofumi versus Aaron's Zamazenta and the Calyrex Shadow Rider this time round. So still have an immunity to the Fake Out, but also you've got the Zamazenta directly being able to threaten the Incineroar, but we do have a big change-up of affairs. The fact that the Incineroar does not have Will-O-Wisp means it's not going to be able to directly threaten the Zamazenta as much under Trick Room conditions, but it's still going to give Hirofumi a lot more room to navigate around this board state.
Yeah, and that is one of the scariest things as well. This Calyrex now just being on the field immediately, being able to just threaten with its sheer presence right now. Incineroar, amazing defensive typing against Calyrex, but that is why Calyrex as Zamazenta works so well because of body press, of course, as the Calyrex is actually opting out to switch out to Amoonguss because we are expecting Trick Room.
Well played, Aaron. What a great way to adapt. Unfortunately, we have gotten a bit of an error that has popped up, but don't worry. We are going to go ahead and try to get that resolved ASAP. But for now, let's just talk a bit about the Amoonguss being brought there. Aaron, you cheeky dog, you. Well played. What a great way to showcase the adaptation of the adaptation. You sort of know that your opponent feels so forced to try to, they have to directly respond to the biggest threat that they could not overcome in the previous game. Okay, cool. Let me think. What are your options? Trick Room. Okay, cool. Maybe you can lead with that. That would suggest I should try to make sure I prep myself. I don't just stay on the fence, and I have some sort of answer to that. And the Amoonguss already seemed like such a great way to do that.
No, absolutely. I do believe that was a great call by Aaron, just recognizing, okay, we, like my two leads, they're strong. So Hirofumi is forced into a position where they need to set up Trick Room. There's no other way around it. They are locked behind a singular path that looks like the only option to bring. So bringing out that Amoonguss, giving Trick Room, being able to spore left and right, because there's not a lot of targets that Hirofumi is able to make sure that don't fall asleep. You have the Rillaboom, you have the Incineroar, you could potentially have Terra Grass Smeargle, but it wasn't on the field as of yet. So, but then if you need to keep switching to those Pokemon, you are lacking the power that you want to have within that Trick Room, which is definitely that Calyrex Ice Rider, to say the very least.
Yeah, 100%. And there's also the situation where usually if you're going to have an Amoonguss on your team and you don't have a Trick Room, you would expect to be running slow enough speed to underspeed the Calyrex normally, but outspeed it under Trick Room conditions. So let's say, for example, if you do go up against a min speed. And that's the sort of scenario where Aaron has identified clearly, okay, this is the moment that Amoonguss gets the shine the most. You could always guarantee outspeeding that Calyrex under Trick Room. But we're going to have to find out how things go. We know our trainers are going ahead and trying to get everything sorted with the judges as we speak. So we are going to try to hold out just a bit longer until we get a tiny bit more information in being able to figure things out.
Yeah, that's now an extra level of thinking, because we saw the adaptation to the adaptation. But what if adaptation again? So
adaptation
this
to the adaptation to the adaptations.
Yeah, so it's a full-on circle that can happen, of course. But that is the interesting part about VGC, where we can see these high-level players try and go beyond what their opponent was understanding, what their potential plays could be. Because the Among Us there was a very good call there. We still don't know exactly what was clicked, because it could have just as well been a Glacial Lance into the Among Us. Most Among Us tend to survive at least one, but that could still prove to be quite useful. These are things that we now know of. These are plays that Aaron now has revealed that they like to be able to showcase as well. That is definitely an option that they can bring. So Hirofumi will have to take this and consider again what the options are. And I do think that's a little bit hard.
It is, as we have been told that there will indeed be a rematch. So we're still waiting to try to get a bit more specifics. That's all that we've been told. But I think that does lean into what you've just mentioned right now, Shmon, where there's going to be even more mind game layers definitely coming into affair now, especially if it is going to be a clean rematch. We're going to have to find out. But yeah, like, where do you go from this point, Shmon? Like, because it's so easy to allow this to affect your mental state of thinking, right? It's just like, how do you try to get outside of tripping yourself into this sort of like loop, per se?
Now that you have the time where they are trying to reconnect, it is time to collect your breath and honestly take a moment for yourself. You already got this far. This is top 16 of Worlds. It's very commendable. It is super respectful. You know that the player in front of you is 1-0 in front of you. You have seen what they were willing to do. You've gotten a little bit more of information thanks to that disconnect. So now you will have to absorb that and just put all of that into your game plan, while just being able to maintain your calm self and play the best Pokemon that you can do, because that is the only way to do it, and that is while having fun. So fully commit to that, where you are just having fun. I am playing, I'm in top 16, enjoy that part and play your heart out.
Yeah, I could not have said that any better myself, because I think that's really what it does come down to. It's the spirit of the game, spirit of just having a good time. And I know it's quite crucial because, you know, no one wants to go through this scenario generally, but especially when it's your tournament line that is out there and exposed and you're susceptible to it. And especially if you're in the top 16 of Worlds, you know, you're thinking, wow, okay, I am literally, I got here. I am of the 16 best players in the world from the past year to this year in the current season. You know, that's such a huge accolade in of itself. But yeah, you just, like you said, just be able to sort of appreciate where you're at currently. Make sure that you just keep your breaths going. Make sure that you've got the rest, the mental rest, as much as you can during it, because it can be a bit tantalizing and nerve-wracking. But, you know, it's just one of those things that also help build character. I've had similar situations happen to myself. Maybe not top 16 Worlds, I have to admit, but I've been up against scenarios where I think I've had basically where we had to go ahead and we've had multiple disconnects, and it was sort of a best of one at the end of the day, where you had to go take it to the death match, or not death match. I don't remember the final match.
I
you know which one I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Sudden death.
Sudden death.
Sudden death.
Yes. And I have gone up against Victor Medina in a sudden death, and that was at Worlds 2022, and that was not fun. I
can definitely imagine that as who. But there are instances where things like this can happen, and then it is a good time to just try to recollect yourself, because sometimes a change in attitude can do a lot of wonders as well. which can help you just enjoy the game. Because for me, for example, I was able to perform decently in Bologna because I had an attitude change where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to have fun. I'm going to go with a team that I love playing, can play in time and time again, and I'm just gonna go out and have some fun. And I did. I was very happy with my result. Had a team sheet error still, but like, hey, you know, I still have fun. Like, it was a cheeky team sheet error, but things like that is just fun. Like, we all love this game. There's no going around this. There's no easier or harder way to say this. We all love this game so much, time and time again, because that's why we are here, because we want more VGC. That's why you're watching. You want more VGC. You want to see all of these players perform and showcase their best, because that is the cumulation, some word that puts it.
I can't remember the culmination.
Culmination of all the events of the last year, bringing it here to Worlds. And like, if you've seen like the main series, you've seen the amount of effort that goes in from players, from judges, from casters, from anyone there, because it's one core thing. We love Pokemon, and that's exactly what's happening as well. So I am so excited, and I want to see the next match, and I can't contain myself because I just want to be able to see what is going to happen. Because let's be honest, let's go back to the match. What is going to happen? Is the Among Us still going to be there on Aaron's side? What do you think?
I feel like Hirofumi has to go for the same mode. Like, there's no doubt about it, and I think Aaron has to respect it. So I fully expect the exact same scenario to play out. I still expect the Incineroar and the Calyrex over on Hirofumi's side. There may be an adaptation of maybe the... I still feel like Calyrex, Shadow Rider, and Zamazenta makes sense too. And maybe still having the switch of the Amoonguss would make sense. But we're being told we're going straight in to what is now the next game of this match. Is going to be a rematch between both of our trainers. Zamazenta and the Ogerpon rather than the Calyrex, but Hirofumi sticking to their play from that previous game to pre-restart of the Incineroar and the Calyrex, clearly favoring that Trick Room mode.
Yeah, the Incineroar proving dividends as it is able to intimidate that Behemoth Bash as well as this Ogerpon's Ivy Cudgel. You do have a nice option to fake out, and you do have the potential to go for a lead seed, which is just as good as well, to make sure that the Zamazenta, despite it being its defensive monster that's on the field, you're able to slowly chip it down and trying to make sure that your Calyrex has its sustainability, as we have the Terra of Game 2.
Yes, and that is, of course, the Terra Fairy from the Calyrex side of things, wanting to make sure that it can get out of the rock-type weakness if the Ogerpon does want to go on the offensive, which it may very well do so, especially because the Protect from the Zamazenta has come out. But no, just going to be a solid, I want to go ahead and burn your Fake Out away, and if that's at the cost of a Trick Room being set up, so be it. I will accept it. At least I'm going to be at a point where I can be able to navigate uncharted territories, but no Trick Room being set up, just a raw glacial lands. Clearly Hirofumi trying to catch Aaron off guard.
Yeah, trying to catch off guard is the right term, as right now your option to Trick Room is very much flaunted in front of you, because this Ogerpon is carrying taunts, is able to make sure that this Calyrex is no longer able to lead cheat or Trick Room right now. So Hirofumi has to find a way now to get out of this position, because the fear of that Among Us being able to come back was very much there, as the Incineroar is opting to switch out. So let's see if Hirofumi is able to wiggle themselves out of this.
Oh, we have a switch up. The Landorus is actually going to be brought in right now. A really good way to be able to resist that body press. And the Ogerpon with the taunt, of course. It's such a great way to be able to force this Calyrex's hand. And henceforth, why it gives Hirofumi more room to go on the offensive. Break that Ogerpon's sturdy critical hit, might I add. Most likely would not have actually been able to bring it down to that point because it hits neutrally, but still, we're gonna have to see a scenario where Zamazenta right now is still probably going to be the fastest thing on the field, but the Landorus is something that Aaron's going to have to respect.
Yeah, exactly. So Zamazenta is going for Protect, knowing what damage that Zamazenta did in game 1, trying to maintain it for a later time. Ivy Catcher coming out in the Calyrex, and that is a critical hit to boot it back, as well as the Earth Power is going into that Zamazenta slot right now, as now the Calyrex is able to go for the Glacial Lance, pick up the KO onto the Ogre Pond, but at the cost of half of its HP, and with a boost, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad deal at all from Hirofumi's side. Still has the taunt in effect from the Calyrex, though. That is something to factor in. And the fact that Calyrex is at low HP range, just over 50% from that HP bar, which does invite this Calyrex to come onto the field and start potentially even setting up, if not going for, not setting up, but just going for the raw Astral Barrage in this case. Surely, given the range that we saw in that initial game 1, Zamazenta follow-up from the Astral Barrage into the Landorus is going to be able to be enough to pick up the KO.
Yeah, this is a scary position to be in if you're Hirofumi, especially if all your Pokemon are known to be slower. We saw how much that Astral Barrage did, and Aaron absolutely locking in that Terra Ghost as well, trying to make sure that despite the Landorus in the last game got a little bit more chip with the Astral Barrage, making sure that this Landorus will not see the light of day in the following turn if it's staying on the field unprotected. So what are the options that Hirofumi has? There's still a 4 Pokemon to be revealed here. The Landorus is the one switching out. Let's see what the option is.
Yeah, it's going to be the Smeargle, so what a way to be able to bring Redirection back on the field, especially with a double switch. So it's going to be Incineroar as well. So the real key thing here is this is a pure defensive double switch. You are able to be immune to Astral Barrage, but also resist Astral Barrage with your Incineroar. However, you are susceptible to the Zamazenta if it opts to go for the Body Press. You see Aaron locking in with the Ghost Terror, wanting absolutely as much damage as he can muster. Astral Barrage will come out, will be able to do nothing to the little painter of a dog Smeargle, and will be able to do, I would say, 15%, maybe about 20, 25, I'm not gonna lie. But the Body Press is the most crucial thing here. It was the correct slot. The absolute audacity of this Incineroar thinking they could come onto the field and be safe, but the Moody is in activation. Speed boost, baby, +2. This is the biggest threat and a potential lifeline for Hirofumi to come back into the game.
Speed is key right now, and that is exactly what Hirofumi is saying. A fast Spore into the Calyrex could prove it useless in that regard, as the Zamazenta is not able to hit this Calyrex for all that, still be able to hit it for super effective damage, but it's been intimidated twice already. So this Calyrex could very well stay on the field, being able to retaliate with a Glacial Lance, dependent on what this Smeargle itself will be doing. This is a little bit tighter. This was maybe the switch up that Hirofumi needed with that Smeargle speed boost. We do have Ruination as well onto the Smeargle, being able to give another option at a later time as well to make sure that everything gets chipped down as much as possible. Zamazenta going for the Protect. That means the Calyrex is unprotected right now.
Hirofumi's gonna have to get the call right, and he does! Spore onto the Calyrex, well played there, and that was so risky for Hirofumi to do, absolutely opening up the Calyrex to get picked off by a Behemoth Bash KO in favor of the Leech Seed, clearly not going for the Trick Room, given the Smeargle has so much of an advantage with its disruption because of the Moody boost. Attack now +2, drop of special attack, no drop of speed most crucially.
Yeah, no drop of speed, meaning this Zamazenta is a prone target for this Spore just as well. Calyrex has taken its first turn of steam, so it could very well just wake up in the following turn. It did not get a boost as of yet, but it is still that Terra Ghost, and Terra Ghost should, lose from its typing. It is terrifying. I'm not afraid of Ghost, but I am definitely afraid of this Calyrex Shadow Rider being able to absolutely decimate the field with any sort of Acid Barrage. You might not be super effectively hit. It is still a hard move. Spore from the Smeargle into that Zamazenta. Let's take a look if this Calyrex is able to wake up.
We're gonna have to see what does the text say. It is still asleep. It is a very sleepy, sweepy horse. And the Calyrex, over on the other hand, of course, will now be able to move. Go for the Glacial Lance. Wants to make sure that it finally can break the Focus Sash of this Shadow Rider across the field from it. And just a note there, Shmon, look at how much recovery this Calyrex has gone through because of the leftovers. And if you didn't think Smeargle was fast enough before, guess what? Think again, it's a +4. Ha!
+4, the fastest dog alive right now, being able to spore. But now Calyrex has taken another turn of sleep, so the chances of it waking up are very real, as well as the Zamazenta that could wake up in its in the following turn just well. Zamazenta still asleep, going for its priority move, trying to see if it's able to wake up. Ruination coming out onto the Zamazenta. Finally, we are seeing it. Half of its HP suddenly go. Calyrex still asleep, meaning this Calyrex is now suddenly fully in gear, being able to lead seat the Zamazenta, bringing it lower and lower. And now the Calyrex Shadow Rider is able to wake up with a little bit more chance in the following turn, as well as the Zamazenta, as this Calyrex going from 50% suddenly almost back to full.
Yeah, that's incredible. Incredible scenes here in the side stream, folks. This Calyrex Ice Rider. Oh my lord! Wait, sorry! Now it's the fastest Smeargle in the West. It is a +6 of its speed, as if it needed any more. But the crucial thing here is Calyrex Shadow Rider remained on the field, was not taken down by a Glacial Lance there. So clearly Aaron trying to play with the dice there in hopes of either going for a Protect or a Wide Guard in anticipation of the Glacial Lance going out and trying to protect that Shadow Rider of his. But this allows the Shadow Rider some room. Surely this means Hirofumi goes for the double protect here, forces the Shadow Rider to wake up with its mandatory sleep and then put it asleep again the following turn.
Yeah, Zamazenta is waking up just as well, going for that Wide Guard, trying to make sure that no Glacial Lance was going to come out, dependent on, of course, if this Calyrex was going to wake up and be able to KO it. But Calyrex waking up just as well, and guess what? This is exactly what Hirofumi wanted, because right now, Spore is still very imminent. The Zamazenta is slowly getting his HP gone as well with this lead seed. Let's take a look. This Calyrex just eating its leftovers. It's got its snacks on the side. It's got the lead seed from the Zamazenta sharing its snacks as well. Like, this is a good time to be a Calyrex Ice Rider.
Oh, no, yeah, it's having the best of times. The fact that Hirofumi found a way back into this match because of the Smeargle going crazy with the Moody Boost is... it's such a Smeargle thing to expect, in all honesty. But this forces a Zamazenta now in an awkward spot. You either do the hard switch out here, or you have to take a Spore because you went for Wide Guard before. That's on the same priority bracket of usage when it comes with Protect in that order. So this is going to be a bit cautious for Aaron, whether he wants to try to roll the dice yet again in this scenario and which Pokemon he's willing for it to be put to sleep in order to try to further his win condition.
Yeah, this is, as you said, it is a little bit of rolling of the dice. The Calyrex still has to make a decision or to Wide Guard, to Glacial Lance or to Lead Seed, as Calyrex is opting to protect Spore from the Smeargle, trying to make sure to get that asleep, but staying awake, meaning right now this Zamazenta is able to go for the Behemoth Bash onto the Calyrex, doing decent enough damage, but that is of course after a -2 after the Intimidate from the Incineroar. Glacial Lance coming out finally into the Zamazenta. Is it picking up the kill? No, barely missing out, but that is of course not counting on the lead seed, of course.
Yeah, exactly, because the Leech Seed is going to be able to do the job. And what a beautiful pin Hirofumi had there. You go for the Spore on the Calyrex, which is clearly the main threat right now to oppose this Ice Rider over on their side of the field. And just being able to lull the Zamazenta to the point where you could just get its HP back, pick up the KO, even if you can't outright do so. And now the Amoonguss comes in, and we're in a spot where, technically speaking, the Amoonguss can redirect a Spore attempt into that slot. However, The Calyrex Shadow Rider, I don't think it's picking up the KO on this Ice Rider because of that range, which means Ruination into the Amoonguss with a Glacial Lance should technically be more than enough, but it's going to have to come down to the speed interactions of the Ice Rider and the Amoonguss, and the Double Protect tried to go through. It was unsuccessful.
Yeah, Follow Me coming out from the Smirgon, trying to make sure that at least Ice Rider stayed safe, predicting that a Double Protect could be the win condition. But now it's a lone Amoonguss on the field versus the Smirgle and the Calyrex. Amoonguss being able to Spore, but it will be redirected by this Follow Me, while the Calyrex in the following turn is able to go for a Glacial Lance. Honestly, this game is proving why Smirgle is one of those Pokemon that you have to respect and why it had so much usage stats. Even if it is a 1 in 6 chance, it's a roll of the die, it is still being able to flip the match on top of his head with a right Moody Boost.
Yeah, and that's essentially it. You just want to be able to find a way to get out of a precarious situation if you're in one, and Smeargle is your answer. Glacial Lance will finish off this job and force a win for Hirofumi and a one more slither of an opportunity to be able to go ahead and contest going into the top 8. We felt like Aaron had all of the momentum with the very smart and well-positioned Ogerpon lead, taking advantage of the taunt, making sure they could shut things down. But honestly, I do genuinely feel like the MVP there was Smeargle, just being able to outspeed stuff, not even need Trick Room anymore, just have Calyrex, Ice Rider on the side, dealing damage, go for Leech Seeds. You're fine, even if you're staring in the face of a Steel type whilst you're terrestrialized into the Fairy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Smeargle was the MVP, being able to get that speed boost with that switch out. Incineroar was KO'd in that same turn. It was a correct call by Aaron, going for that body press in that regard. But as soon as that Smeargle had that boost, it was really hard for Aaron to try and bring it back, because a fully 100% accurate Spore on a very fast Pokemon is something you don't want to see in front of you when your main game plan as well is to be able to have this offensive pressure of these Pokemon going out. And there was the other issue of Ogerpon not being on the field anymore, so being not able to be following me. So prime opportune time for this Smeargle to really thrive, really.
Yeah, truly. And that's sort of what it's there for, in all honesty. Even if it doesn't have Fake Out, it's still got such good disruption tools available to its arsenal. You've got the Spiky Shield, you've got, of course, the Spores, as we saw, quite integral to its strategy there, but you've also got Ruination. All of a sudden, a Smeargle can do so much more than just disrupt. It can assist, especially when it comes to these very chunky, powerful, bulky restricted, as we saw in that scenario, which is incredible, because Zamazenta was not going to go down if it weren't for the Ruination.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think there's a lot of adaptation that Aaron can do, because like, honestly, you can't really prepare for a Smeargle boost. That's a really hard thing to prepare for. Especially if you are already at this world's level. We have now the Koraidon and the Ice Rider here from Hirofumi's side, while there is again the Ogerpon plus the Zamazenta from Aaron's side.
Yeah, so no Incineroar being led here from Hirofumi, but of course the exact same lead from Aaron's side in that game too, clearly thinking that there's a lot more mileage that he's going to be able to capitalize off of. And he still could. But Hirofumi switching it up with the full offensive mode going now, saying, right, I've got a pin situation that I want to force you into in terms of board states. I've got potential of setting up Trick Room, or I've got potential of just going for the speedy option. Go for Flame Charges, go for full out of damage of Flare Blitzes and Low Kicks. Anything to try to distract and break the focus of Aaron's side to have to really commit to one or the other.
Alex going for the Protect, trying to make sure that it stays safe, because we have seen it is a very key option. Ogerpon going for the Follow Me, trying to make sure that no Low Kick will be targeted towards the Zamazenta. Low Kick coming out into that Ogerpon, not putting it to its story, but doing still massive amount of damage. as the Zamazenta is going for the Behemoth Bash onto the Calyrex right now. So turn 1, Hirofumi made all of the correct calls, trying to make sure that the Sturdy was broken on the Ogerpon, and Calyrex is still at full HP.
Yeah, and I do love the fact that you've got the Koraidon available on the field, which kind of forces the Zamazenta to have to respect it and consider to terrestrialize. But then that opens up the field for the Calyrex Ice Rider to be able to capitalize off of super effective ice type moves onto the then dragon type. So it's a really cool way to be able to pin Aaron into really committing into what is, I would say, a more reactionary lead to Hirofumi. So it's Hirofumi taking the advantage and momentum, especially with that protect. So now you still got the option of going for the Trick Room or even an Incineroar switch out.
Yeah, Incineroar switch out does seem like a very nice option right now, as that is exactly what Hirofumi is seeing. Intimidate going on to the Ogerpon, Intimidate onto the Zamazenta, making sure that Behemoth Bash is gonna do less and less. Ogerpon going for the follow me, so as soon as that Ogerpon is gone, you are able to no longer, you don't need to fear that taunt anymore, Flame Charge, so boosting up that Koraidon just as well. So if the Calyrex comes in, it will still have to respect the Koraidon in that regard. As now body press from the Zamazenta into that Koraidon, doing over 50%, massive amount of damage, a big splash indeed, as now Aaron will have to see how to adapt against a +1 Koraidon and an Incineroar on the field.
It's a great way to change up your targeting from Aaron's side and say, okay, well, I feel like it's a bit telegraphed, the Incineroar coming into that slot, so I at least want to be able to take advantage of momentum and go for the Koraidon, deal a 2-shot, put it within a range of Calyrex, especially the fact that you've got Focus Sash Calyrex gives you a bit more flexibility to be able to sort of accept a full shot, very powerful move from the Koraidon while still being able to pick it off immediately after, sort of like a revenge KO scenario. So this does open up the floor for Hirofumi to be able to try to maybe allow his Koraidon to go down after it picks up some sort of damage or maybe breaks a sash on the Calyrex and start enforcing your Calyrex Ice Rider Trick Room mode again.
Yep. Calyrex opting to the protect, trying to make sure you maintain that sash. Zamazenta just the same, trying to figure out what Hirofumi's plan is right here, as the fake out is coming out, going right into that Zamazenta slot. Of course, itself protecting itself, but now the main information is that Koraidon. Who is that Koraidon targeting? And it is going after that Calyrex Shadow Rider. So this could tell Hirofumi that, this could tell Aaron that maybe potentially the Smeargle might not be in the back, as the Calyrex gets targeted first for all of those acid barrages just as well. But that is also very dependent on if Hirofumi wanted to give that information or not.
Yeah, exactly. This could easily be a bit of a bait from Hirofumi to sort of get Aaron to feel a bit of a sense of false security when it comes to the expectations of what that fourth Pokemon could be in the back. So we're going to have to figure out. We know, at least from Aaron's side, it seems to be that a Moongus that he's got just in case the Trick Room mode does get initiated.
Good.
Very quickly, and we get confirmation that we have got the game coming back very, very shortly. Apologies, folks, as we are still a bit blind.
Yep, there we are. There we are. Acid Barrage coming out from the Calyrex. It was Terra Water onto the Incineroar, trying to survive any sort of move. It will survive the Acid Barrage, but the Koraidon is going down. It did, so it was a Terra onto the Zamazenta, trying to get its defensive typing. Calyrex is on 1 HP. Body Press, is it going to be enough? It's not enough! So that means that this Incineroar is able to go for the knockoff and KO that Calyrex just as well.
Yeah, and what a turn of events, no doubt about it. The Aaron side is just down to the final 2 Pokemon. It is the Zamazenta, which has now terrestrialized into the Dragon type, and of course the Amoonguss, which is such a crucial Pokemon to still have available. Being able to just go ahead and essentially have redirection available on the field, especially when the Incineroar on the other side is down to just a slither of health remaining. And even if it has terrestrialized to water, it's going to be going down to any sort of damage that is damaged attack that just is dealt onto it and targeted, really. So you're going to try to find a way, A, to navigate outside of Wide Guard lock that Zamazenta has available, and then B, find a way to pick up a K on the Amoonguss.
Oh, no White Guard coming out. So if Hirofumi called this and went just for a Glacial Lance, this could prove to be quite problematic for this Amoonguss as well as for the Zamazenta, as it will do a lot of damage. It is the Glacial Lance coming out into both of these targets. Amoonguss still hanging on as the Zamazenta has taken quite a bit of damage as Amoonguss is now free to Spore, and we finally get to see what the last Pokemon is that Hirofumi has, and I do sense that it might be our little friend, the Colorful Beagle.
Oh, and it is not, my friend. It's going to be the Landorus instead. So we've got a situation where it's really not over at all. The Landorus could well go for a Sandsear Storm if it wants to hedge its bets and try to not mess about with any sort of redirection, but then you're met with the Wide Guard potential with the follow-up of the Spore. So it's a 50-50, folks. You need to try to lock in to whether you go for the single target move, and is that what Aaron's going to expect, or do you go for that spread? Do you go for the safer option? So Hirofumi, as we've seen so far, has been willing to take some risks. We're going to have to see if he's willing to right now. Amoonguss goes for the protect. No protect from the Zamazenta, and Behemoth Bash comes out, deals a very minimal damage, about 25%. Earth Power, does try to target down the Amoonguss. So clearly Hirofumi saying, I respect the Wide Guard. I have to go for this play. And Aaron just being that one step ahead, taking advantage of that and going for the slow protect.
Yeah, exactly. Slow protect, and now you're back against the wall. Amoonguss going for yet another protect here. This is maybe the call that you have to get. Behemoth Bash coming out yet again onto the Landorus, maybe fishing for a critical hit, trying to make sure that that goes down. Earth Power, of course, going again in that protect. Is the Calyrex still asleep? It is! So that means you're still able, you're still not out. Aaron still has a game plan to potentially do here.
He does, but he's going to really have to hone in on whether he can pick up a K on the Landorus fast enough. Zamazenta, we know, even though it's a dragon type, it still has +1 because of the Dauntless Shield. Behemoth Bash, is it going to be enough to pick up a KO? No, it is not. No critical hit. That was clearly the necessary need there. Earth Power does pick up a KO. You see Hirofumi going absolutely safe, not wanting to risk the Sandsear Storm accuracy or the Wide Guard being caught, and the Calyrex will wake up. He goes for the single target. Glacial lands, and it's enough to pick up the hero. Hirofumi Kimura has progressed on with the critical hit on top of that into the top 8.
Wow, that was an amazing match to see at the very least, because let's be honest, that game 2, we were thinking to ourselves, okay, yeah, that was all Smurgle. But now, Hirofumi showcasing in this game 3, no. That Smurgle, yeah, it helped, don't get me wrong. But this game 3, all me. And that is exactly what they've shown off right now. Bringing the correct Pokemon at the right time, and as well, just knowing what Aaron wanted to lock in that endgame with the Wide Guard plays and everything, and even the Incineroar going for that Terra Water, which is able to sponge the body press and that Astral Barrage, which was not something that I saw coming, really.
No, I don't think any of us saw. And at some point, it just looked really, really dicey. And Aaron clearly trying to hone in on focusing to get the dragon typing Zamazenta terrestrialization going at some point, obviously having to respect the Koraidon. There was a moment where we missed a bit of gameplay, but I'm confident that we saw the Koraidon try to go on the offensive, forcing Aaron's hand to terrestrialize the Zamazenta in order to not get KO'd, essentially. And that's sort of what we're talking about with the lead Hirofumi had in this game 3. You are forcing the respect of both of your restricteds into some sort of adaptation when it comes to defensive play of the terrestrialization. The fact that Zamazenta was led first means that it has to have the priority in order to not get KO'd to go for the terrestrialization. That's where you can catch the Zamazenta out with a late game Glacial Lance, Calyrex Ice Ride, and that's exactly what we saw Hirofumi do to such an advanced level.
Yeah, honestly, you took the words out of my mouth, because that was just high-level play. We have now seen 2 matches of this top 16 already, and we have more to come, of course. We have a little bit of an
Yep.
update here, as you can see as well. We have Victor Medina will have to face off against Hirofumi, who we just saw win this match. We have Montanamo versus Michael Kesh in top 8 already confirmed as well. And in other information, Teoti Maso was able to get into that top 16 after bad juking it out earlier with Chupa Cross, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, and what a top 16 we've had thus far. Obviously, we've seen a bit of a breakup in terms of the progression of some of the top 16 matches already being played out, leading to the top 8 versus the previous top 16 plus. But still matches that are ongoing. This isn't over, folks. We've still got 3 more trainers we are waiting to join in the top 8. But of course, there's so much going on in terms of all of these great trainers showing off all of the great skills that they've been able to build upon throughout the season. And I do want to give a special shout out, of course, to Michael Kelsch there, one of those trainers that keeps proving time and time again he is ridiculously consistent when it comes to world championships. Top 8, he is one more stage away from potentially getting 3 top 4 or greater out of 4 worlds he's ever competed at, if not 3 out of 3. So,
That's insane.
just imagine.
That is insane. Especially the first year, he only started in December as well. Wow. Like these players, they're showcasing time and time again that they can surprise us as well, and showcasing just why these players are considered top players with the consistency. I am very excited to see all of these players showcase what they have going on. I for one, I'm very excited to see what their team is gonna be able to bring out, because they've had like a very interesting way of team building recently. With like earlier it was like with the Lunala, but now I saw that they switched over to Cataract Shadow in that regard, but still having the same core in that regard. And this is just, I love the World Championship. This is giving me such energy. But that is, of course, we do have to mention that that is the end of this round. But there will be more VGC action soon enough on this side stream. There is more content as well onto the main stream, where you can be watching another top 16 match. And we do hope that you're gonna go enjoy that, get some refreshment, come back and enjoy this side stream just as well. So we'll see you in the next round.